Obamacare opponents often comment that new legislation will ration health care. Yet at the same time, Republican solutions often include market-based systems that will serve to better limit utilization. How is wisely limiting utilization different from rationing?
Rationing happens when you have a socialized program that gives the consumers and physicians no choices. It happens just as my roommate, when I was teaching international foreign policy in Windsor's father needed heart surgery, and he went to Mayo Clinic. Rationing is when you have no options. $500 billion in reductions in Medicare reimbursement, $500 billion in reimbursements directly to physicians happened with the so-called healthcare reform bill. If there is no money and you have physicians and clinics like Mayo who will not take Medicare patients because of the conundrum with no funding for seniors, we have rationing. Now, utilization, I would hope, is going to be contingent on the AMA and the boards and best practices and quality medical practices, such as the case with the Fox cities, to my awareness, and Wisconsin. Obamacare is seriously flawed because it takes the decision-making out of your hands and the physician's hands and puts it in the hands of the government. It is, it's egregious, and as I mentioned before, it violates 60% of your Bill of Rights. It needs to be revoked and repealed, and we need free market systems to be put in its place.
I think Congressman Paul Ryan addressed this on a Fox News talk show once, talking about rationing. He said, we got rationing right now in our healthcare, and he was absolutely right. The difference with Obamacare is it's going to be the government telling you if you can go in and have that knee operation. You know, I had a gentleman, a good friend of mine from Marinette, was playing basketball and tore his knee out. And because he's over 40, because of the new Obamacare law, he has to go and take the doctor says we want to do surgery on it, but because he's over 40, they've got to go and take a different prescription towards his treatment. They actually have to go through and do some rehabilitation, and he won't be able to be on his feet as quick as he would like to be because the government got involved, and that's the difference. Obamacare puts the government between you and your health care. They've got a thing called qualified life years. So if they perceive that you're too old, if they perceive that you're too sick, if they perceive that for some reason you don't deserve to have that health care, even though you want it, even though you can afford it and pay for it, they're going to tell you and deny you that kind of care and treatment. The way we want to go in health care reform is to put people in charge, consumers in charge in the driver's seat of their health care. Obamacare does nothing of that sort.
This is why I've been very passionate about this whole topic of health care. I've spent a lot of time on my website talking about it. You can go and read more clearly and further at rebelforcongress.com. But there are systemic problems in Obamacare. Rationing will be a part of it. And as the government comes under increasing pressure financially, which it certainly will, based on all the other types of spending programs they have, rationing is going to be a fact of life for the American. And so the best way, again, going back to, is allowing you to own your own insurance so that you are in control of it, so that you select your doctor, so that you choose when you get care. And by doing that, by empowering the American people to make those choices, and then having a limited safety net for those who cannot afford it, you can address this problem from the top down. We do not need the government involved in this. If we continue down this road, rationing will be a fact of life in the United States, like it is right now in Great Britain. And so my plan has always been to empower the individual in their own medical choices. Them, in relationship with their family and with their physician, should be making the choices on what type of care they should be getting.
This is the last question in healthcare, and it's a 30-second question. Will you sign a discharge petition to bring an Obamacare repeal bill to the House floor? Start with you, Roger.
To bring a bill to repeal Obamacare, absolutely I would.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. And we're going on to... That's exactly what's supposed to happen. That's great. Okay, it's Jackie. Whose turn to start? Reed's. Thank you, Reed. Thank you, Reed. This is a 30-second question. Thank heavens. What would your spouse or fiance tell us is your most annoying habit?
That's a pretty simple one. I snore. I'll guarantee you that would come out of her mouth right away.
Thank you for sharing.
I get up at 3 and 4 in the morning and just start writing ideas. I'm constantly trying to think of solutions and ways out of problems. So luckily, there's a lot of problems to think about.
I'm kind of ashamed to admit this, but my fiance's noticed this. The fact that we're in a campaign year only exasperates the situation. But I eat a lot of fast food. In fact, over the last, I haven't taken, we've been campaigning straight since the last day off we had was Christmas Day. And I probably eat fast food for 2 or 3 at least of the meals that I have every day. And I hate it, and she thinks it's terrible. And when she gets married, hopefully she can help me with it. When we get married. Is she here tonight?
Good qualifier. Okay, Reed, we're going to start with you again on a serious question. This is a 30-second question to start off with. Immigration and amnesty are very complex issues without straightforward answers. What experience do you have with enforcement of current immigration laws?
Sure. As an employer, we're really on the front lines right now of immigration law. I don't think it's an appropriate place to put employers, but that's where they're at. That's where they find themselves. And so as one of those frontline people that have to screen and really try to get underneath the layers of some very high-quality forged documents, we've worked very diligently in our company to see that we don't hire illegal immigrants.
I have no experience in hiring or screening individuals that may be illegal immigrants, but I do know this. I believe in the rule of law, and I believe in the Constitution. And if an individual breaks the law, then we need to follow that law. We have millions of undocumented illegal immigrants. 80% of our prisons are said to be filled with individuals who don't belong in this country. It's causing immense social problems. I believe it's one of the worst national security issues in this country. We need to follow the law. If individuals want to become citizens, they need to go back to their nation of origin and apply to become a citizen.
Thank you, Terry.
I think immigration is a pretty straightforward issue. I think our politicians in Washington have made it confusing. We are a nation of laws, not of individuals. That's why I don't support amnesty, never supported amnesty. At the state legislature, I authored a sanctuary city bill, which would have banned sanctuary cities, which harbor illegal aliens here in our state. I authored a bill which would implement Chapter 287G money from Washington, a program which would take convicted felons before we release them to the street. We'd ascertain their citizenship status. If they were found to be here illegally, we would send them back home.
Thank you all. This is a 90-second question. What is amnesty, and what role does it have in the immigration solution? That's you, Terry, yes.
Amnesty is redefining the Constitution and the path to legal citizenship. It's in forgiveness of individuals who have committed crimes against this country for 2 reasons, both political. One, because we've looked the other way with individuals crossing our borders, unfortunately for cheap labor, which creates an underclass in the United States, and for possibly illegal votes. It's the unsaid politics of illegal immigration, and both political parties have to take a deep look in the mirror. It's caused tremendous crime issues, where a 15-year-old boy was killed in the crossfire by the federales just yesterday. We're seeing mass graves. We're seeing the import of crime into this country. Just in northern Wisconsin, in the 8th Congressional District, we saw drug lords being seized and captured. It's not funny. It's not politics. It's not business as usual anymore. We're going to have to obey the law, stop looking at this as a convenience sake for cheap labor for individuals who would like to hire them, and we need to all step forward to obey the law. Individuals are going to need to go back to their home country, and they're going to need to apply for legal citizenship if that is their intent, and we're going to need to make sure that our border is fully secured. I like Reagan's idea. We need to move our military bases near the border so that individuals understand when they're in the United States, they're in the United States.
What is amnesty? McCain-Kennedy bill that they tried to pass in Washington in 2006 is amnesty. Heritage Foundation says so. Anything, when people come here illegally, when they don't follow our laws, and then they want, at the end of the day, for us to give them a break and allow them to stay here, ahead of the millions of people around the world who want to come here the legal and proper way, that's amnesty. For allowing them to pay a $1,500 fine to stay here, that's amnesty. Allowing them to go ahead in line of anyone who wants to come here the right and legal way. And I've been around this world, both in Europe, both to Africa, both to the Philippines. There are people who want to come here the right, proper, and legal way. And to allow people who've crossed our borders illegally to be ahead of the line, or to give them a special pass, that's amnesty. And I do not support amnesty, which is why if we're going to get immigration reform in Washington, it's going to begin with enforcing our southern border and enforcing existing federal law. If you go and pass amnesty and allow these people who've broken our laws to stay here, and you don't enforce our southern border, all that's going to happen is more people are going to come over. And if you were somehow able to send them all out, and you don't enforce that southern border, they're just going to come right back. So if you want to talk about immigration reform here in the country, it begins and ends with protecting our southern border and enforcing our existing federal law. And I don't think that's too much to ask our Congress to do. Do you?
Politicians love to play with language. They'll often raise taxes, but call them fees. And they'll take words like amnesty and say, well, it has these penalty steps, but it's amnesty. The word amnesty comes from the root word amnesia, Joe. It means to forget something, as if it never happened. It's what Ronald Reagan did. He forgave the crime and said, you're in for free. There's no penalty, no foul, you're here for free. And that's amnesty. Now, you somehow must draw people out of the shadows. Otherwise, Terry, you're absolutely right. And I think our positions are almost identical, quite frankly. You have to pull them out. You have them pay a fine. You have them pay all their back taxes. You have them pay the penalties of the back taxes. You have them go through a criminal background check. You have them be drug-free. And then you send them back to their country of origin to get in line, where they cannot jump in front of somebody who's been here or been in line for 10 years. Those types of things have to happen. Now, you can call it amnesty if you choose, but it's not. And you have to send them back so there's no line jumping. That's what my position is. I've always had that position, and I've been consistent with it pretty much my entire adult life.
Okay.